Here we are, look at this. Everybody's on time. You guys are so... What's the word for people who are on time? I forget. Reliable, whatever. Everybody keeps telling me the same thing, but it's the same thing for this bunch. Just so you know, I'll be here by myself today. Jed is off in Nagano and maybe Gifu Prefecture, I'm not sure. He's up hiking on a part of the old Nakasendo Road. Punctual, that's right. My God, I forget how to speak English. So Jed's up hiking slash sketching slash relaxing in an onsen, whatever, just getting away from the world for a while. So it was fun having him here for the last couple of days, but I didn't get a whole lot of work done. Couldn't really concentrate with all that conversation going back and forth. But so today should be quieter, I think. You know what I'm doing. I'm just working on still the New Year's design. And there shouldn't be any interruptions. It's about 8 o'clock now. Cameron will... Well, no, it's Saturday. He may not be here. So that we may have a totally normal, uninterrupted stream for 90 minutes until the doorbell comes at around 9:20. I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. And it's yet another rainy, drizzly day in Tokyo here. It's not what we're supposed to get in October, but that's what the gods are sending us these days. So. Let's have a look, see what's happening this morning. Jed's coughing. I don't know about his own cough, but he's giving it to a bunch of us here. I've got it. It started. I can feel it in the back of my head. And a present from Jed. Are you going back to the UK one day? You talking about me? No, this is my home. I live here in Tokyo. This is absolutely my home. I'm not going anywhere. I'll go for visits. My family is in Canada. My grandchildren are in Canada. It's become basically now on weddings and funerals. That's when I get back there, you know. I can't imagine going anywhere else now at this point. Now what's next? I'd be a stranger anywhere else, you know. The UK to me, I lived there for 5 years, but that was back in the 1950s. If anybody can count that far back, it's a strange country to me. I'd just be a visitor. And Canada too, you know, although I lived there for 30 years, I've been out for more than that. So it too, it would be a strange place to me. You know. It is the times I go back for visits. The place that feels normal to me is right here, Tokyo. This is my last stop. It's funny, one thing about living in Tokyo, you know, every now and then, in my YouTube feed or whatever, it pops up some kind of video that they made while visiting Tokyo, you know. You know, some filmmaker has been here and made a 5-minute, 10-minute video, Vimeo thing or something on visiting Tokyo. One of these came up a while ago, a few weeks ago. I looked at it, I thought, wow, look at this place. I'd love to go and see that place, you know. What a crazy, wild, wonderful city, you know. Got to go and see that. And that's actually where I live. And there's this disconnect between these views of Tokyo, these images of this incredible place, you know. And we don't all see that every day, the people of those of us who live here, you know. So it was an incredible kaleidoscope collage of views of this city that just went bang, 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 one after the other, you know. What a cool place to live it must be. careful, be careful. Look at this, didn't want to come out. A tiny bit deeper. The mulberry fiber calls, yeah, I know. There's a limit to how much I can talk about some of these. We're doing a bunch of business negotiations on getting our paper supply worked out, and there's a limit to how much I can talk in public about stuff. We ourselves are fairly open about our own work and things like this, but when we're negotiating with company A without telling company B and whatever, this is actually sort of a business thing. So I have to be careful. I know somebody actually wrote me an email yesterday about this. Dave, blah 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 blah. Anyway, simple part is, the paper business here in Japan now is totally, absolutely in flux. It's been turned upside down. There's a few factors. The kind of paper that we use, for example, over many, many, many years, the number of people using it has dropped. So the supply chain has become very shaky. Our particular case is that our business is doing very well. We need good supply, but that's not so common in the print business in the modern era. So the supply chain is extremely rickety. We got a good example of this. The guy that was here, was it yesterday? I don't know what day it is today. Today's Saturday. So on Thursday morning we had a visit from a man, somebody we've known for many, many years. He's the person who's been supplying Jed with the paper for his Chiclete prints. The inkjet prints that Jed makes. He uses also a very nice quality Japanese washi, different from the stuff that we use ourselves here to make the woodblock prints, but a nice washi nonetheless. And this guy and Jed have become friends over the years. This man is very happy to have Jed's business because Jed is making a ton of prints. Anyway, they were here for a meeting. While Jed was here, it was an advantage for us all to get together and talk about this and talk about that. And although this man is not the man who's supplying me with my paper, we get ours directly from the men who are making it, rocking it. He still does know that business. And whatever, long story short, he mentioned a very interesting anecdote that happened. And he said 5 years ago, and after looking about and asking another question, it was about 6 years ago, but whatever. The people who prepare the mulberry, they're farmers. They're out in out on the countryside, farmers. They're usually independent. They're families who've been doing it for many, many years. And there'll be a number of families in each of a bunch of nearby villages that do this. Now, they're not really competitors. They're all making exactly the same product. And the way it works over the years, it's like the same way that the rice business works. The farmers don't sell direct to any kind of consumers, or even the farmers don't sell direct to wholesalers. They have a centralized place in their community. It's an agricultural cooperative, a Nokyo or a Kumiya. There's many different types of them. So the farmers dump their products together into this centralized place because the product is all exactly the same. One batch of fiber is the same as the next batch of fiber in any given area in any given year. So they dump it at the central place. The central place then does the marketing and selling out, and they distribute things in whatever kind of organization they have. It's the same for rice, and it's the same for paper mulberry. Anyway, it turns out that if you go back this episode 5 or 6 years ago or whatever, the organization in the middle, the Kumiya, the cooperative, had sort of screwed things up, and that when it had sent out its directives to the people the year before about how much to plant and how much to prepare, it had overestimated. For whatever reason, I have no idea. I don't know the background, and the man telling me the story didn't know the background. He just simply said, at that time, 5 years ago, there was a huge overproduction. And what happened was that these people brought their stuff, or attempted to bring it to the central spot, and the cooperative said, sorry, we don't want it. We've got enough already this year. And they forced the farmers to go and dump this stuff in the forest. So hundreds and hundreds of kilograms of paper mulberry at the harvested stage, not the prepared, ready for printmaking stage, but at the harvested stage, was just dumped in the mountains. Now, if we had known about all this 5 or 6 years ago, it would have been a different story. But of course, stories like this don't get through to the people at the end who are making paper. Remember, and this was 5, 6 years ago, before heroes came along, before the upturn happened. Woodblock printmaking was absolutely on its last dying legs. Anyway, there we go. So the point of it being that from that point on, the relationship between the cooperative and the farmers really started to decay. A bunch of the farmers at that point, that's where they said, I'm out of here. There's no point in doing this. We're old. We're ready for nearing retirement anyway. My kids don't want to do this job. Let's shut it down. And it's a result of that big, huge swing that happened 5 or 6 years ago that a large number of the farmers have left the business. And now, instead of having an oversupply, it's dramatically switched the other way to being a really critical situation of being an undersupply. And that's where we sit right now. So the guy was here the other day. I told him, well, he knows our business. I didn't have to tell him. I just reiterated it and showed him and all the activity going on here and the prints we're making and our order book and all the stuff going on. As much as I could, I rubbed his nose in the fact that we are doing okay. We are doing fine. We have a bright future, but we need more of this mulberry. So long story short, I keep saying that, I'm sorry. So he said, okay, look, what I'll do is I'll go back and I'm going to identify one of the farmers, somebody who's fairly young, someone who's hip, somebody who does want to have a future in this, and we'll forget the cooperative. We'll tie you up with him, and what he'll need from you is he'll need a guarantee of how many kilograms, whatever, to supply on any given year. And what I will need from him is a guarantee of the quality and what kind of supply he can provide to us. So we're at the beginning of making this agreement, and we will be actually having a signed, written contract between me and this person once we get this all, I'm being optimistic here, once we assume we can get this all teed up. And if that happens, if we actually get that far a few weeks from now, to actually having that, then that will transform things here, absolutely transform things. I've already talked to our 2 paper makers, and they both can't believe this. If I can come up with this, they're quite happy to let me be the fiber supplier for them. So that's where we stand on the cusp of making a couple of agreements here. And this is something interesting. It's never been done like this way before, cutting out these middlemen, working direct. And it's the way things work these days. That's the modern world, That agricultural cooperative, totally. There's an order for a certain print. Thank you very much. I wonder if it's somebody who's on the stream today. I don't know. You can guess what print it is by the sound, of course. Thank you very much. So in that sense, one of the major problems in our supply chain looks like it might be actually coming together. So we'll see. We'll see. Again, I'm talking about this in public, and these are supposed to be, like core negotiations of our business and stuff. But whatever, it's an open era. I don't know what to think about this. Boy, there's some fine lines in this one, Jed. He was working on Photoshop, this one. This is not a hand-brushed image. We're talking about this over the last couple of days. The lines on here are Photoshop lines. The main work we do with him, the heroes prints and stuff like that, it's all hand-brushed. He composes in Photoshop, as we were mentioning, and then draws physically analog by hand with a wet, ink-filled brush. But this one is different. This was a quick job just for our New Year's card. We wanted a clean and simple image. And these are Photoshop brush lines. This is not ink brush lines. So it's a much finer and delicate than he can do. Questions. The question box actually is working, but whatever. Excuse me. The Octopus print channel. I know, again, the Octopus is alive and well, but it's sub-priority right now. I know, I'm sorry. other stuff coming. The octopus is a project that will take many, many, many months to complete. And whenever my desk is clear, it bubbles to the top. But as soon as something else with a more important priority comes in, the octopus just gets pushed down. It's right here. I've got the block right here. So please, just be patient. Just be patient. For sure, when we get rid of the autumn thing, the Christmas rush, don't get depressed about this, but certainly January, February, I will be working on the octopus print tons. Hopefully before then I will also have a chance to get working on it. Well, you say quality paper supply. This is, of course, partly where we're thinking, I know. We very much, Francis Hanga. Yeah, you and me both, Guy. I know, you and me both. You and me both. It's sort of working from the bottom up. If we can confirm mulberry supply, and then from there, book on more people to make the paper. And I spoke to the guy last night, the new man we have on board to make our new paper, who's ready to take over all of our paper work. I asked him, suppose, just, thinking out loud, suppose we could get a ton of this mulberry, could you, more than my own requirements, would you be interested in just, scaling up a little bit, And he said yes. He can't scale up dramatically and quickly and indefinitely, but he would like to scale up a bit more, get a couple of workers. His problem right now is it's him and his wife and an apprentice. And if that apprentice decided to quit, or if somebody gets sick or whatever, he's in trouble. So he would like to have a few more people around to help stabilize his business. Same as me, we have those 4 girls upstairs. 2 of them are pregnant now. We're in trouble. But if we had 10 people and 2 of them are pregnant, we're okay. So we need to scale up a bit. We need to grow a bit more. Well, the last thing I want to get into is that capitalist thing of growth. We have to expand our business by a minimum of 15% per year and blah, 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 blah. It's crap. But at the moment, we do desperately need growth because we're too small to be stable. Is it a drug or whatever? You get busy, you get hung up on the growth and you can't stop, and we need to make our chart bigger each year than the year before, I don't know. Worry about that when we get there. Right now we need to expand just to stay stable. Crows are busy out there this morning, I hear. Is it garbage collection day out there? I don't know. No, what day is it today? No. Excuse me. One crow saying the same thing over and over and over again. crows are fighting the rats. Wouldn't that be cool? So, the rats are busy upstairs again this morning. Did you hear it? I think I said some comment in yesterday's chat that didn't get picked up well. One time I was sitting here, and because I'm quiet, those guys think it's all clear. And upstairs, then there's rats living up in the ceiling here. They had a big bunch. And I said some comment like Rat Olympics, and that's what it feels like, So, what would you need more in your store at this moment? Carvers or printers? Printers. Ask me 4 years ago or 4 years ago, it was carvers. Now it's printers. We're desperate for printers. Desperate for printers. Where's that? Oh, I can't reach it. Whatever. Just printers. Printers. Mail printers. Too wide. Oops, that ring is loose now, and I've got to get it clamped back on properly. Need some tool maintenance time. I haven't spent much time on the tools here at all, so need to take a couple of hours and get them all cleaned up and maintained. What do we have to hear? Males who identify as pregnant. Please don't even think about this. As the Studio Ghibli project, relax, don't even think about it for a while, for a couple of reasons. As somebody's mentioned in the stream, so it's not Studio Ghibli we need to be talking to, it's a different company with different rights. It's called Tokuma Shoten, the publishing company. But at the moment, in my current situation, I can't think about even pushing that forward. We're doing so well. We're so busy. We're just stacked up so far now that I can't actually even think about taking on something like that. If we manage to get some more workers here and get the paper supply and the wood supply more stabled out a bit more, and of course we'd like to diversify a bit more. You know, we're doing well with Jed and well with Heroes, but it's common sense for any company to diversify. You can't just depend on one core product. That's too dangerous these days. So we'd love to do that, but at the moment it's just simply more than we can handle, more than we can take on. You know. So I'm not actively pushing it, promoting it at the moment. You know, I know what I would like to do. There's a certain person. His name is Suzuki Toshio. I have to go and see him, but at the moment I can't do that because I don't have the production capability in hand. So the Ghibli thing, just let it sleep for a bit. But we are, excuse me, we are all yet young. There's lots of time. There's no rush, no rush. Sounded more hopeful than last time I heard the question. I don't know what to say. You know, whatever. Just think of it at the moment as sleeping. You know, it's something that I will explore more deeply in the future. At the moment, it's just kind of sleeping. You know, it's a question of resources and well, resources mostly. That's right. Loving these lines, you know, they're just so nice. They're all thin and delicate and curvy, and this is carver's heaven, a job like this, you know, absolutely. No roughness, no raggedness. We talked about this before, you know, whatever, a few weeks back. So I was doing the octopus. I know each designer, they've got their own style, of course. What obviously, you know, Jed is Jed, and Hokusai is Hokusai, and everybody else, and Shunshou and Tomoto and whatever. And when you're carving each person's stuff, you know, you have to recognize what's unique about it. Make your own style match what they're doing. It's a sort of an exaggeration. When you're carving hokusai, you become a hokusai, and whatever. That's crap. But the point being, the hokusai lines are ragged and energetic and vicious, and they don't sit still. And Jed's lines here, at least specifically in this piece, because this is what the mandate was something quiet, and it affects every bit of your mood as you sit here. You know, carving one of those hokusai lines, the knife goes go. It never goes smooth or in a steady direction for more than a split second. But these lines here now have just been, you have to get that curve, have to get the shape of that curve as perfect as you can. You know, it's sort of a natural, there's a naturalness to these curves. I'm quite happy at the moment just to sit and get hokusai out of my life for a minute, and that frenetic energy, and just peacefully slice through this thing, trying to catch this. There we go, look at that smoothness. This is kind of just what I need right now. You know, there's so much going on here. Our business is it's just exploded so much. We're so happy, you know, but my God, it's just so difficult keeping things all together now, you know. Somebody was asking, Dave, what do you do, Dave? You turn off the stream, and you know, what exactly is it you do all day, you know? And good God, I firefight for the most part. I've got a little list already prepared of the things I'm supposed to be covering today, and because Cameron, the new guy, he's just getting. He's still got training wheels on. You know, he's probably listening to this from the coffee shop or something. I don't know. Nothing negative, but it's going to take a while to get booted up. You know. And we're already finding is a little bit of a dangerous situation here, in that the idea of having the new manager here, the new slash manager guy, would be to take a whole bunch of work away from me. But what we're finding is a situation developing, and I got to be really careful, really careful about this. There's a situation developing where there's a bunch of jobs that we haven't been doing recently because I haven't, even thought about having had the time to do them. We need to really refresh our Japanese website because we get very little domestic business, stuff like that. And he started nibbling at some of these jobs. So under my direction, he and Yama-san were asking him to do that. So the danger is that rather than Cameron take away the work that I've been doing, the bookkeeping and the office work and stuff like that, I end up still doing that, and Cameron starts doing other jobs that we need doing that hadn't been done before. And the result is I still end up all day long at my computer. So this is really a fear. The last few days, that's actually been what's happened. He's been working on the Kickstarter fulfillment and survey stuff, and then the new Japanese website. And I'm still digging through all my old jobs, unchanged as from before. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. I'm half laughing as I tell you this, but I don't know how this is going to play out. There's just so much work here waiting to be done. I am liking this little girl, This is going to be a very pleasant print when we're done. The printers are going to yell about the registration because these lines are so fine. Some of these are hairlines, just finer than hair. And that means the printing registration has to be absolutely the same, finer than hair. So we're going to have to, what we call manicure the paper for these prints. We're going to have to stiffen the corner with nail polish. before we can start printing, because any slight softness on the registration corner and we're done, we're cooked, we're finished. From the printing service, how deep do you carve? So there's people answering already. Yes. So. I know you don't see it yet here because I haven't yet cleared out in between. But it's like if you think about like a globe with continents and oceans. The oceans get deeper the farther and farther away from the continents. So, yeah, delegating, eh? Delegating. Whatever, we're learning it as we go along here. So, it's very, very tough. What makes the delegation even more difficult is that, I spent like 30 or 25 years or so. Everything was built in my own image. What I mean is, the business built up around things that I could do and that I could do well, and things that I didn't know how to do or couldn't do. We didn't do that sort of thing. So the end result is we've got a business here that I'm trying to delegate to other people, but it's all built of things that I myself do very well. A bit too deeply there. Excuse me. There was a bit of other news yesterday, unrelated to all this, paper stuff or to the JED stuff or whatever. I went out for a quick visit with the young man who was supplying us with the antique prints. Antique meaning we've got a thing we call in our shop called the flea market. It's a section, prints we didn't make, we were dealing in them. We're going out and finding nice copies of stuff made in Meiji and Taisho for the most part, but some Edo stuff as well. Quite old. We've got some 1820, 1830 stuff like that prints in the shop. Nearly 200 years old. And getting, it's something our visitors have really enjoyed, having this option available. Not everybody wants to spend a couple of $100 on a print, but to have them in the shop here has helped expand our business considerably. And there's so much still left here in Japan. It's an indication of just how much was produced back in the Edo and Meiji times. It was the printing business and the presses, not the presses, the printers. They ran just bang, 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 making bajillions of prints. And they're still here, and there's just so many of them everywhere. So we've tried to find a selection of these and put them in our shop. And we've been working with a young man who is in that network, the Koshokai, the used books, used prints dealers. He's got all the licenses and stuff. He has access to the wholesale auctions and things that I don't. What I've been doing for the past year or so is I've been browsing, you've heard this before, I've been browsing Yahoo Auction and picking up, when I can, good bargains and good stuff. But it's very hard to tell on an auction what's going to be good and bad, because the people putting it up don't usually do good photographs and stuff. Anyway, I had a meeting with the guy yesterday. So he's a friend of mine. He's like my daughter's age, actually. And I gave him a rundown on what we've been doing, how it's been going, what's been selling, what hasn't been selling, what there's a demand for, what there isn't a demand for, what we'd like him to find more of. And there's a real nice sweet spot in that he himself tries to go a little upscale. He wants to have expensive, high-class stuff. Set himself up as an actual, top-level dealer. As he gets older, he wants to move into that echelon. And we're not in that space. We have our own quality prints. The flea market in the shop, what I want is reasonably priced, nice quality prints for people to use for decoration, the people who are visiting here. And there's a group of those. During the 1960s and 70s, actually before the war and then for a period after the war, there was a huge boom in making ukiyo-e reproductions. There was a bunch of companies here, Adachi, Takamizawa, Yuyudo, Watanabe, whatever. They made very, very good quality reproductions of the classical ukiyo-e stuff, including, of course, the Great Wave, whatever, stuff like this. Moving on into the 70s and 80s, it degraded. They lost their ability to think about what was good taste and stuff. But there's a bunch of stuff out there now that's pretty much 50 years old or so, or 50 or 60 or 70 years old. And those prints were bright and clean when they were made, but now they've developed a nice soft patina. And the carving is really nice quality. The paper back then was still very, very nice. These are 1950s, 60s, 70s reproductions of classical ukiyo-e. And most of the dealers here in Tokyo value these things as basically zero. They're not originals in the quotation mark sense of the term. But we love them. Our goal is to try and find high quality, well-made, attractive, interesting prints. So it turns out that he's been in these dealer auctions. He goes twice a week or so to these auctions, and he's been bidding heavily on the Meiji stuff and trying to get upscale. And he's been ignoring all these post-war reproductions because he's bought into this same idea. This is just nothing. Who cares? It's got no value. It's a post-war reproduction. And it's got no value in terms of like Sotheby's value or investment value. It's got zero of that. But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for nicely made, attractive objects. So I'm asking him, look, does much of this stuff come up in the auction that you were going to? He just came out of an auction just yesterday afternoon while I was talking to him. He said, yeah, there's a ton of it. I'm not interested in that stuff. What can I do with it? And I'm like, well, I think I know what you could do with it. So I explained to him what I needed, the kind of stuff I wanted him to look for. It had to be nicely carved. It had to be nicely printed. Couldn't be any foxing. And he said, okay, he'll keep his eyes open to see what he can find. We worked out some prices. I'm willing to pay up to this much. If he can buy X less than that to give himself a margin, then we have a deal. And he seemed very confident that he would be able to start supplying us with quite a good quantity of this sort of thing. So we'll see. The flea market here in Mokuhankan may be about to have a nice expansion. Coming along nicely. I'm looking forward to the test printing of this, Many of these lines will have to be touched up. I've carved it now, but because the paper is half torn and half on the surface, it's hard for me to tell the actual shape of some of these curves. I don't try and fix them at this point, like that one. I think that's a bit too fat there, but I can't see because I can't see where the paper is and where it's off. So no problem. I leave it for now. Leave it for now. And then after we do a test printing, I can see the proof and see where it's too thick and where it's too thin. crows have gone quiet. Eh? I think Jed mentioned in yesterday's stream, or the day before, I'm not sure which of the conversations it was, that he had been watching together with me. We've got some old video of Kawase Hasui and the workshop that made prints to his designs back in the 1950s. I got this old video that was made in 1950. 56, 57. Hasui died in, I think it was 57, so this would have been made in 56 when he was already very ill. And they followed him from the point where he was doing his sketching out in the country right back into the workshop where he fixed up the sketch and did the tracing ready for the carver, passing it to the carver who says thank you, and away they get going. And right through to the very end of the printmaking process. And some of it is sort of staged. You can see the carver is not at his normal bench. They've rigged up a kind of studio. So we're not quite sure how much of this is actually real and how much is a bit staged for the cameras. But it's still, there they are. There's these guys at work. And Jed's watching Hasui brush this thing out, and I'm watching the carver bang away at the block, and oh my God, look what he's doing, and can it really be that fast? And that was part of it too. The carver seems to work extremely quickly, and you know I've known this, that the old carvers were fast. But we're looking at this thing, and Jed's like, no, that's speeded up, can't be real. And I'm like, well, maybe it's real, I'm not sure. I think he could have done that, you know. And we're looking at this thing step by step, frame by frame, you know, trying to figure out if it's real or speeded up or whatever. So, and altogether, it's about a 30-minute video presentation made in about 1956, and it's full, absolutely full of just treasury stuff to watch. You know, everybody who I've showed this to, who has seen this, is, oh my God, look at that, look at that. You know, every craftsman, look, how is he doing that? I can't see. What's he doing? You know, it's this sort of snapshot on these techniques. This is not Edo or Meiji. This is the 1950s, but these guys are gone. They're long gone now. You know. And whatever apprentices they had took on a not quite so serious view of the work, and the quality level has been dropping. And this is a really important window for us to see this, you know. But the big mystery of us is how much of that is at real speed and how much is just speeded up enough to make them look like superheroes, but not enough to make it look like it's unreal, you know. We need to get some experts in who know 16mm film and stuff like this to be able to tell us, you know. It's all copyright stuff, you know. Jed said, look, why don't you just dump this on YouTube? And well, I can't. I mean, right there at the end of it, it says copyright, blah, 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 you know. And I don't want to get into a situation where I'm hijacking stuff I shouldn't be hijacking, you know. I don't mind making a parody of Star Fox with a fox riding a cloud. That's cool, but but just to take somebody else's property and steal it, that's a different story. I don't know. I should explore what is the copyright or whatever on video, not video, on movie type material. This would have made on, what is it, 16mm film back in 1956. When does the copyright on that sort of thing expire? I don't know. Maybe it's already public domain. Anybody know? Here in Japan, the copyrights themselves changed just a few months ago. Japan, for many, many years, has been death plus 50. This is for things like copyrights on books and artworks and stuff. I don't know anything about video or movies. But on most stuff, books and things like that, it's been death plus 50. But in the last session of Parliament, they changed that to death plus 70 to try and bring it in line with Europe. And it was part of the deal to get the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, through. That was the motivation for passing that legislation. The TPP failed, but I assume the local law that was passed applies whether or not the TPP went through. So anyway, I think general copyright now in Japan is death plus 50, death plus 70. But that was only changed last year. So this thing was made in 1956. So it had already, if movie work comes under the same clause as things like books and artworks, then this thing was made in 1956. So it already fell into the public domain back in the year 2006, 11 years ago. But if it's retroactively taken back inside by the death plus 70 rule, then it's back under copyright protection, and it will be until 2026. I don't know. I'm no lawyer. I don't know how these things work. I don't even know if movies count under that same category. But if this thing's open, I'd love to clean it up, fix up the audio, do some narration explaining what's going on, put it on YouTube. My God, that would be fantastic. But I don't know about the legal ramifications. So if there's anybody out there who knows about this stuff, how Japanese copyright works on video as opposed to books, then yeah, whatever, let me know. Is the flea market for shop visitors? Actually, I already tried once to get a bunch of it onto the net, but the fact that there's only one of each one means it has to be scanned, it looked for imperfections, described carefully, put up on the net, and bang. I'm not sure if there's enough margin to allow that for one by one by one by one. Our own catalog goes on the net because we have many, many copies of the same thing. Prepare the web page once and you're good to go. So we would like to get the flea market up and running more. It's a question of staff time. Nakamura-san, the young lady, she'll be here on Sunday. I'm going to get her to put another couple of dozen up next Sunday. But it's very, very hard. We did stock it once and it became empty a few weeks later. So we're going to try to put the flea market up, but it's much more difficult because of the descriptions for each and every one. There's a dot in the sky, and this has got a bit of mold in one corner. And if we don't describe that, we're going to get in trouble. The thing about putting it up on YouTube, what I want to do with that video, it's in a real mess. It was a 30-minute film. I guess it was 16mm. It might have been 8. I think it was 16mm film. And what we've got is a dub of a dub of a dub, step one. And when they dubbed it, the audio starts to slip. So it starts off okay, and then the audio slips and slips and slips and slips and slips. So they cut the audio. You have silence for 1 minute. People's mouths move and nothing happens. Then the audio comes back normally and slips and slips and slips and slips and slips. So I've got to separate the audio and video, do something by stretching the audio so it fits back. This is not trivial work for me. And then what it is it's the process I described to you for 30 minutes, but Hasui himself narrates the whole thing, explaining what's going on in a hugely, hugely interesting narration. He explains everything about it. Here's why I pick up my knife, and here's what my brush, and here's what I'm doing, blah, 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 blah. It's no good just dumping that on the net. The value of this thing to everybody is going to be listening to what's going on. So it's a huge amount of translation. And then I guess what I have to do is first translate it all, then put a YouTube up that's got multiple audio channels, the original Japanese audio, which we fix and stretch, then my overdub of the English that matches it, and then maybe whatever, like the caption thing. It's a ton of work that's just, if I knew it wasn't going to get taken down or something, we could invest the time to do this. But to spend the weeks and weeks and months of work putting it up there only to find that it disappears a few minutes later, I can't take that chance. So for the moment it's here, and we show people, and like Jed sat there and geeked out at it, said, show it again, whatever. So it's there, and one day its time will come. But right now, here and right now, I just don't know. It's just another one of 100 things that needs to be done, but just we've got more, we've got a 1959 presentation a French movie company made on the carver Ogura Hanbei. He was the top carver in whatever. The name, that chain of people were the top carvers through the 40s, 50s, 60s, I guess, And they were difficult people to deal with. These are the carvers that thought they were so high class they didn't need to talk to anybody else. I had experienced myself. A bit unusual. And let's not start that whole thing again, We've got a video, and I think it's about a 40-minute presentation, which was a semi-documentary on the guy, including a lot of his own narration partway through, And it caught him just before he died of cancer. He was already quite ill, but he was still working. And it was the best possible time, peak of his abilities, before he just checked out and disappeared. And the tools. We've got to get that up on the net in an explained, annotated format. Time. Must be getting on for time, right? Must be soon the employees are coming in. This is Saturday morning. They've got a bunch of parties booked. Staff today, it's going to be Kawai-san and Matsumura-san. Competent couple of young guys. They can do the parties very well now. And for me, my jobs today will be on a finishing Kickstarter fulfillment. Not finishing fulfillment, I mean getting the survey thing finally. We've had this survey open for a week or so. And although there's still a ton of people that haven't responded to it yet, we have to get going with the ones that have. Jed's end. Jed's here in Japan, but at his end, he's got a young girl who does his packaging and shipping for him. And she's standing by. And it's time to get her the spreadsheet saying, send this to this person, send this to this person, and get things on the roll. So that has to be got ready today, I think. And then ready for Jed to check over when he gets back from his hiking, and then off to his shipping center. That's got to be done. Then I've got to make a visit to a young printer. I know in this, we've talked about we need printers. We had thought last week or so we'd found another young man to help do this. I sent him a sample job. I sent him a sample job first, just make a few copies before we start making the production run. He did, and they were not so good, but they were within reach. So he and I talked about why they weren't good enough, and he said, yeah, okay, I get you, let's go for this. I gave him the go-ahead, and he made 30 or 40 copies that were nice. So that went into stock, and I gave him the next job. And I may have made a mistake. I may have been a bit too optimistic. I gave him the job, the gift print that we're doing, the owl. I told him to make the first, I don't know, 80, 60 or 80 copies. I forget what it was. And they came back 2 days ago, and they're useless. They're absolutely useless. He's misunderstood something I've told him, or in a way it goes, and they're absolutely useless. So I got to go and see him today. It's no good talking on the phone about stuff like this. I got to go and see him and figure out make my own decision. Is this guy going to be competent, or is it this was a misunderstanding of my poorly phrased Japanese, or what's the backstory, what's going on? So I don't know. It could go either way. We could have a young man who will mold into the kind of printer we want here, or it could be that he's just another one of these guys. He's so set in his ways, he's so programmed into this is the way it's done these days, that he's not going to be able to do our work. And that's what I'm afraid of after seeing the work he turned in yesterday. Like we're going to send that stuff to our customers, And I'm in a bind because that's the gift print. We've got to get it going. October 20th is the day that page goes live. Like, what was that? Yesterday. So that's a priority for me today, to try and figure out that job. We're really in a bind by having these girls pregnant, God, it's put us back so far. This is looking good. I'm very happy with the way this is going. printers are going to hate me for this, you know. That's outside and inside. There's a sock, there'll be a color here and a different color in the back, and that borderline is just... I'm hearing every sound but the question sound from my mail software. You know, is it actually working properly? Nothing in the Twitch box. Now what's this? This is toes, right? So what's this look like? There's a curve this way. Oh, here we go. It must be nearly 9:30, is it? This must be Kawai-san and Matsumura-san coming in. Matsumura-kun. And off we go. It's going to be a busy, busy Saturday. Print parties, visitors. The bell's going to ring a bit. They're getting the stairwell ready, putting the flag outside, getting the posters ready. It means coming up and down the stairs a bunch of times. That's why the bell rings so much for the first people here, the first staff. So I guess I better get wrapped up here and talk about what's going on. Today's Saturday morning. Almost certainly again today. I can't even think about it. Afternoon stream. There won't be an afternoon stream this afternoon. There isn't going to be any for a while now because the shop is too busy. 5:30, 6 o'clock. But there's work on my bench to do, so I'll be here every morning for the foreseeable future. Today's Saturday. I'll be here Sunday, Monday, next 2 days, continuing on this block. And once this block's finished, I'll do a quick transfer for color blocks and get busy on the color blocks. So for at least another week, my work is set and visible. So I'll be here tomorrow morning and the day after. I won't be here Tuesday, as usual. There's no Tuesday streams. Good morning, sir. Going to say hello to the crowd. I think it's been a quiet day today. Not much activity on the chat. It's been a quiet day. This is Kawai-san, for those of you who don't know.
Good morning.
And I think I'd better sign off. As I said, I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time, same place, on the same block with the same knife and the same piece of wood. See you then. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Thank you. Jed's up in Nagano still, so he'll be up there for, what's today? Today's Saturday. He's due to come back. It depends on the weather. Sunday night, or if the weather does break a bit, he's going to come back Monday night. He's sketching, so. 馬込、妻籠から馬込、基礎街道。あれは何？長野と岐阜？ちょっとわかんない。長野県ですね。あずさで、松本ゆきのあずさです。
松本からさらに。
うん。